Am I the jerk? Argued with my mother for reconnecting me with a family member I don't like? To make a long story short, but to add context, my family is fairly small. Due to various disagreements related to childhood and money, we do not see eye to eye. My aunt is one of those people. We grew up together and were practically like sister and brother, but that was a decade ago. Once I started doing well in life, the energy from my aunt was strange and what I could best describe as discomfort and jealousy. My mother tried to say this was just because we were like siblings in the past, but my argument is that we are grown adults now, and when somebody shows they do not like you, that is a decision they made as an adult. Therefore, I will not look past it. I have a lot of experience with keeping friends who have shown similar behaviors and have turned out to be no good. Moving forward to the present time, my mother and my aunt have started hanging out and going to places like malls and out to eat together. That is good for them. But at every opportunity my mother has asked me to meet up with them, I have declined the invitation and explicitly said I have no interest in reconnecting with that family member. Last week I agreed to go out with my mother somewhere, and as I was getting ready to leave, she informed me that my aunt was also going and was almost on her way. My aunt lives far, so this had to be pre-planned. My mother would have had to tell her I was going in advance, and she would have had to leave her house at least 40 minutes before we even left. My mother knew I would not say no after being ready to go myself, so I went. As expected, my aunt and I barely spoke, and it was not me being weird or acting weird. We both had a very uncomfortable energy around each other, and I was more like a third wheel. When we all left, my mother tried to suggest another hangout, most likely because she knew I was less likely to be rude and say no in front of my aunt. Afterward, I was quite mad and called my mother strange for trying to arrange the meetup. If I invited a family member she was not comfortable seeing, she would have blown up, and I know it. I told her that I was angry because if I knew the family member was going, I would have never agreed to go. I also explained that if I had a friend or girlfriend who did the same thing, I would see it as a setup and would never speak to them again. Who is at fault here? Am I the one to blame for blowing up and reacting the way that I did afterward? Your mom knew exactly what she was doing, and it's completely fair to call her out on it. Boundaries are important, especially with people who are not a positive influence on your life, and it sounds like your aunt fits that description. Your mom should respect your wishes about who you want to be around, family or not. It's not like you are telling her not to be around your aunt. You just don't want to be, and that's completely reasonable given past experiences. Am I the jerk for telling my spouse's parents we are eternally grateful that they were born outside America? I, a 22-year-old female, might have been rude, and I need some clarity on this. My husband, a 22-year-old male, and I welcomed a baby together 6 weeks ago. Her name, Kalia, has been poorly received by my husband's parents, who think the name is weird and lacks excitement. My husband told them their opinions did not matter. He also told them they had no right to talk, given what he was almost named. My husband was born outside America. His mom is Irish and his father is American. When they were first married, they lived in another country. My mother-in-law wanted to honor her dad, Patty, by naming my husband after him. My father-in-law wanted it to be more exciting. He was a big fan of a certain rapper who had rebranded around that time, so they had decided they would name my husband Pity instead of Patty. My mother-in-law was on board with this. The country they were living in at the time had some rules on what a baby could be named, and Pity was rejected. They were always salty about this and mentioned to my husband and his younger siblings several times that they mourned the name Pity and how it would have beautifully combined a tribute to my mother-in-law's father and an artist my father-in-law loved. My husband was always relieved they were stopped. He told me about it a few times, and at first I did not believe it and thought his parents were pranking him. But his siblings said it is 100% true because their parents apparently tried renaming my husband when they moved to America, and it was too expensive, which is why it did not happen. My in-laws were bad-mouthing our daughter's name so much that my husband told them they almost named him Pity, and how could they talk so badly about Kalia when that had been on the table for him? They ended up arguing, and my in-laws turned to me and said they expected me to have better taste and wondered if I was going to call my husband out on saying those things. I said no. They told me I should be more grateful that they were sharing concerns others would have. That is when I told them we are eternally grateful my husband was born outside America. I was being snarky, but I was so done with their complaints about the name. They called me out on being disrespectful, and I accept I might be wrong for saying that. Am I the asshole? You haven't done anything wrong. These people were dishing it out but couldn't take it, yet you were the one being called disrespectful. Don't back down and don't apologize. They are just beyond the pale of reason, and people notice if you're willing to defend yourself or dish it back to them. Am I the jerk for telling my sister that it's implied she'd have to pitch in around the house she's staying in rent-free? I, a 29-year-old female, inherited a house from my maternal grandmother. It is near the city, allowing me to commute to work, and it is spacious enough for me, my 2 children, and my husband. Even with our combined salaries, my husband and I would never have been able to afford a home like this, despite our frugality and savings. The housing market is tough, and we were extremely fortunate. My half-sister Ella, a 25-year-old female from my father's side, and I are very close. She recently secured a new job in the city center, On her salary, she cannot afford to rent a place in the city center area, and living on the outskirts while paying for a train commute is not cost-effective. She asked me if she could move in, as this was her dream industry. Although the pay was not great, it was for experience, and once she had saved enough, she could get on her own feet. Ella got laid off around Christmas and had been trying very hard to find work, so I offered her the guest bedroom. She promised to help around the house. She has been here for a month and has been busy with her new job. I have occasionally asked her to help out by making dinner or putting the kids to bed if my husband and I were running late, and it has been fine so far. I asked her on her work-from-home day to pick up my youngest from school, as the nurse said she was sick. I could not reach my husband, there were major train delays, and it would take me at least an hour to get there. My house is a 5-minute walk from my child's school. Ella texted me back to say that she was working, but she would try to pick up her niece when her meeting finished. I got upset because my daughter was sick, and Ella said she would try to pick her up after her meeting. I called her to ask her boss if she could have 20 minutes to pick up her niece due to a family emergency, and then she could continue working. Ella argued that she still had to work for the rest of the day and did not have time to babysit her niece. I reminded her that I expected her to help around the house when she moved in, and she responded that she was not free labor. There is tension in the house now, and I wanted a second opinion. Edited to add, I did not call her boss. I asked her to call her boss and ask. It's not okay to ask your sister to jeopardize her job by picking up your child from school. This isn't helping out around the house. It's you expecting her to be a free nanny or a third parent, which she didn't sign up for. Helping around the house means doing things like vacuuming, dusting, or doing the dishes, not parenting tasks like picking up your child. Your responsibility. Am I the jerk for not inviting my friends of 8 years on my birthday trip after they excluded me from Hangouts because I was too busy? So I, a 22-year-old male, just had my birthday last week and decided to treat myself to a week-long getaway in a beach house my grandmother owns. It was something I had been planning for a while, a peaceful break from the stress of university. I am in my last year of university, and things have been hectic. I have 8 classes plus my thesis. Over the past few months, I have been so buried in assignments and exams. It came to a point that I had to turn down many hangout invitations from my friends, a group of 4 people I have been close with since the first year of high school 8 years ago. They would always hang out on weekdays when I had classes, so I progressively distanced myself from them even though we would still text. I only have 2 groups of friends, the high school friends and a 6-person group that I met in the 8th grade, and also have been best friends with since. This group tends to schedule around everybody's free time, so we constantly hang out. A few months ago, I noticed my high school friends started hanging out without even asking me if I could join. I did not think much of it at first because I was genuinely busy. But then they started posting on social media about their outings, even on weekends when I allowed myself to take breaks, tagging each other, and not even bothering to mention it to me. I felt hurt, but I figured they assumed I was still too busy. When I asked one of them about it, they said they did not want to bother me since I was always studying and did not have time for them. That stung, but I did not say anything. Fast forward to my birthday. I really wanted to do something special for myself, so I asked my grandmother if I could use her beach house since no one lived there. I asked my other group if they were free, and they were, so I invited them. We went, and I posted a picture of us on my story, captioned something like birthday vibes with friends. That is when the group chat blew up. They were asking why I did not invite them, initially playfully saying how we have always celebrated birthdays together. That was true for some time, except lately we were not even doing that. 2 of these friends had birthdays before mine, and I was not invited. I just said that I did not know if they were busy or not, and especially with all the stress I have been under, I did not want to spend a lot of time making plans. But they were upset, saying it was selfish of me not to include them when they have always been there for me. Here is where I might be the bad person. I told them that I did not feel included lately because they have been hanging out without me, and that maybe they did not really care about spending time with me in the first place. They said I was being unfair, that I could have made time if I really wanted to, and that they were just giving me space because they knew I was under stress. Now, things are really tense between us, and I am not sure if I overreacted or if they are just being unreasonable. Am I the bad person for not inviting them on my birthday trip and calling them out for excluding me? This is just part of getting older and experiencing friend groups expanding and possibly distancing themselves. It's important to communicate openly and put everything on the table instead of assuming what others are thinking. Relationships are a two-way street, so make an effort to let friends know when you're free instead of always waiting for them to reach out. If you and your friends have outgrown each other, that's okay, but honest communication can help navigate these changes. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay my parents an allowance while I still live with them? I am a 21-year-old female university student still living with my parents. I deeply appreciate their support, including accommodation and food. I currently work 1 day a week due to my full-time studies, so my income is limited, but I manage as I do not spend much. Since high school, my parents have been asking me to pay rent and an allowance. I initially thought they were joking and did not take it seriously, though it did bother me that they kept bringing it up. Recently, I mentioned, somewhat jokingly, that while they are asking for an allowance, other students are receiving allowances from their parents. I do not actually expect them to give me an allowance, but I was just saying it in response to them always asking me for an allowance. This led to a disagreement where I realized they were serious about me contributing financially. They feel that it is my duty to contribute to the household to show appreciation. It is also not like I have never given any money to the household. I paid for the gardener a couple of times in the past when I had the most cash on hand. It is not a lot, maybe only a few thousand over the past few years, but I was happy to pay when I could. For context, my parents are financially comfortable and do not need what little allowance I could provide them. I do not qualify for government student financial aid due to their income, and they do not provide me with direct financial support. I feel like they are not considering the pressure I am under. I save every penny I make because of my student debt and the high cost of living. I am surrounded by peers who receive allowances from their parents, and while I cannot comment on whether that is right or wrong, I feel like my parents are asking for something outside the norm. They seem to view my refusal as ungrateful, though I believe they should be more considerate of my situation. Even if I were to pay them, it would not significantly benefit them, and it would still be a good deal for me. However, it is the principle that bothers me. They do not try to ease my burden and instead make me feel inadequate. Should I be contributing financially to them? Am I wrong for feeling like they should not ask this of me? Your actions were justified. It's totally weird for parents to ask for an allowance from their adult child. If they want you to pay rent, that needs a proper discussion and clear boundaries about what that entails, like not paying for things that are the landlord's responsibility. Parents should support their kids through college if they can, instead of adding financial stress that distracts from their studies. Am I the jerk? Neighbor's dog poo? We live in an Aita. Part of our bylaws states to pick up after pets and not to walk between homes. We have sidewalks to get to common areas or to walk pets. It is a townhome community. We have neighbors who never pick up after their dogs and walk them in our side yard. We've asked them many times to pick up their dog's waste. When we ask them, they will go get a bag and pick it up. We have seen them on our Ring cameras not picking it up. I will just pick it up and ask the HOA to send out a reminder. Today I caught them again walking their dogs in our side yard, and both dogs pooped. They walked away, and I popped my head out and asked, "Are you going to pick it up?" I asked a little louder, "Are you going to pick up your dog's waste?" Silence again. They said, "No, we don't have to." I went outside to confront them. They then said, "Everyone here are renters. We are not." They said, "Who cares if there's dog poop here? It's no one's property. Again, it's ours with zero cut-through." They also said, "We don't care if there's dog poop." Why do you? I told them that my kids play here and no one wants dog waste all over their yard. I told them I see them all the time never cleaning up. If they can't be adults, I will contact their landlord. His girlfriend forced him to pick it up after coming outside. He said he would mess us up when my husband stepped in to ask him again to stay out of our side yard if he can't pick up after his dog. This is a new construction townhome community, starting around $350,000. We put a lot of savings into buying our first home. I contacted both the AOA and the owner of their townhome, who then put me in contact with their property management company. I found out they are not even supposed to have dogs per their lease agreement. I was assured it would never happen again. They have 4 or 5 adults and 4 children living there. One of the other men in the home, who was on the lease and got the phone call, came over after work. He said it was his sister's boyfriend and apologized, embarrassed that they would act that way. He said they have an inspection this week and mentioned that the boyfriend didn't even know what an OA is. They are only supposed to have a certain number of people on their lease and are now threatened with eviction because of the dogs and more people than stated living there. Why couldn't they just pick up after their animals? They could walk them on the sidewalks to common areas, dog bag trash cans provided, around the pond, or even their own backyard. I would never want anyone out of a home, but we maintain our home and yard so our kids can play freely without stepping in dog waste. We have a dog and always pick up after her. I couldn't imagine being so entitled to just let her waste be everywhere. Am I crazy? The man on the lease seemed very nice, but was that only because his sister's boyfriend now put them in a position of eviction? Am I the wrong party for contacting their homeowner? Why couldn't they just pick up after their own dogs? You behaved properly. It doesn't even matter if it's in HOA. If you have a dog, you pick up dog poop. Society expects dog owners to clean up after their pets, no matter the location. You did the homeowner a huge favor by addressing the issue, and there's no reason to feel bad about any consequences the neighbors face. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.